Level 1. You are 23 years old. You are standing in a room full of people, and not one of them knows your name. It's a Thursday evening in December. You are at the company holiday party, held in the private back room of a steakhouse downtown. You are wearing the one good jacket you own, the one you bought for interviews. You have been at the firm for 4 months. You are holding a glass of wine you are not drinking, standing near a tall table you do not own, watching a room that has arranged itself into clusters you are not part of. Every few minutes you take out your phone and look at nothing, so that you appear to be doing something other than what you are actually doing, which is standing alone. You try, twice, to join a conversation. The first time, you wait for an opening that does not come, and after a while you drift away as if you had meant to. The second time you manage to say something, a small agreement with a point someone made, and the man you said it to glances at you, nods without really seeing you, and turns back to the person he was already talking to. You are not unwelcome. You are simply not registered. There is a difference, and tonight you learn it. Then something happens that you will not fully understand for 40 years. An older man comes in late, a senior partner named Robert, and the room changes. Not loudly. No one announces him. But conversations bend in his direction. People who were facing away turn slightly toward where he is standing. A path to the bar opens without anyone deciding to open it. He has not said a word, and the entire room has quietly reorganized itself around the simple fact of him being in it. You watch this happen, and you do not have a name for what you are watching. This is the first thing nobody tells you about status. The first thing is that at the bottom you are not disliked. You are unseen, and being unseen is its own specific country. The room is not against you. The room simply has no slot for you yet, no reason to track where you are or whether you have gone. You can stand in the center of 100 people and occupy none of their attention, and the strange mercy of it is that you also owe them nothing. No one is watching you fail to belong. No one is keeping a record. You are free in the way that only invisible people are free, and you will spend the rest of your life slowly trading that freedom away. You leave early. No one notices that either. The verb at level 1 is enter. You enter rooms that do not adjust themselves by a single degree to the fact that you have walked in. Entering at this level means crossing a threshold no one registers and learning, for the first time, that being present and being visible are not the same thing. Level 2. You are 28. For the first time in your life, a room turns toward you because of something you did. It's a Tuesday morning in October. You are in a glass conference room on a high floor, presenting work you stayed late for 3 weeks to finish. Somewhere in the middle of it, you say something that changes the temperature of the room. You watch it happen in real time. A senior person who had been half looking at her laptop closes it. The man beside her stops writing and looks up. The point you made was not loud or clever. It was simply right and useful and clearly yours. For a few seconds, the attention of everyone at that table is pointed at you and at no one else. It is the first time in your professional life you have felt that, and it is intoxicating in a way you are slightly ashamed of afterward. After the meeting, 2 people you barely know stop you in the hallway. One of them uses your name, which surprises you, because you did not realize he knew it. By the end of the week, you have become the person who said the thing in the meeting, and that small reputation, no bigger than a single sentence, is the first real status you have ever owned. You learn quickly how to get more of it. You speak up earlier. You make sure your good ideas are visibly yours. You volunteer for the work that gets seen rather than the work that merely needs doing. You begin to understand that being right in private is worth very little, and being right in front of the correct people is worth a great deal. Robert, the senior partner, learns your name this year. He does it casually, in a hallway, but you notice. For years ago, he was the man the whole room bent toward, and you were the one holding a drink at the edge. This is the second thing nobody tells you about status. The second thing is that the first rung is not competence, it is visible competence, and the gap between those two things is enormous. There are people far better than you at the actual work who will stay invisible their entire careers, because they do it quietly, in rooms where the wrong people are watching or no people are watching at all. The skill that moves you off the bottom is not getting good. Plenty of people are good. The skill is being seen being good, by people whose seeing counts for something. It feels unfair when you first understand it, and then you stop thinking of it as unfair, and that quiet shift is its own small loss of innocence. You are no longer invisible. People know there is a you. It is a smaller thing than it sounds, and a larger thing than you expected. The verb at level 2 is contribute. You contribute something visible enough that the room briefly organizes itself around your usefulness. Contributing at this level means converting private competence into public attention and discovering that the conversion, not the competence itself, is the thing that actually moves you upward. Level 3. You are 34. Your name now travels into rooms that you are not in. It's a Wednesday afternoon in spring. You are at your desk when a colleague forwards you a thread from a meeting you were never invited to. In it, someone you have never met has written, "We should ask him. He would know." The him is you. You read it twice. Somewhere in the building, in a conversation you were not part of, your name was offered as the answer to a question, and the people in the room accepted it without needing to be convinced. That is reputation, and it is the first kind of status that works while you are asleep. It took years to build, and you can feel the weight of those years inside it. You have a track record now, a string of things you turned out to be right about, problems people watched you solve. When you speak in a meeting, the room gives you a different kind of silence than it gives a junior person, a silence that is waiting rather than merely polite. A younger version of you, 23 and invisible at a holiday party, would not recognize the man who walks into these rooms now. There is a cost to it you did not anticipate. You can no longer be carelessly wrong. The invisible man at the bottom had the freedom to say foolish things because no one was tracking him and nothing he said attached to a reputation he had to defend. You have lost that freedom. Every opinion you offer now is deposited into an account with your name on it, and a handful of bad ones can draw it down faster than years of good ones built it up. So you become more careful, and sometimes, quietly, you miss the lightness of not matching. This is the third thing nobody tells you about status. The third thing is that respect is the first form of status you do not need to be present to enjoy, and that is exactly what makes it powerful and exactly what makes it fragile. Your reputation walks into rooms ahead of you and argues your case without any effort on your part, which is real leverage. But it also means your status now lives in other people's mouths, in conversations you cannot hear and cannot correct, and you no longer fully control what your own name means. You have traded the authorship of your reputation for the reach of it. Most people would make that trade in a heartbeat. You did, without quite reading the terms. Robert takes you to lunch this year, just the two of you, and treats you for the first time as a peer rather than a junior. The man the whole room once bent toward now leans in when you are the one talking. The verb at level 3 is earn. You earn a reputation that precedes you into rooms and speaks on your behalf in your absence. Earning at this level means building, slowly and at real cost, a version of yourself that travels without you, and then learning that you no longer fully own what it says. Level 4. You are 40. The single scarcest thing you own is your own time, and everyone around you seems to want a piece of it. It's a Monday morning, and your calendar, when you open it, is a wall of color with almost no white space left in it until Thursday. You have an assistant now, a sharp woman named Margaret, whose actual job, you have come to realize, is to stand between you and the demand for you. People want you on their panel, on their board, at their dinner, on a quick call that is never quick. The requests arrive faster than you can answer them, and somewhere in the last few years, saying no became a larger part of your life than saying yes ever was. This is the level where status stops being something you chase and becomes something you ration. Being wanted is pleasant for about a year, and then it becomes a logistics problem. You learn that an invitation is rarely just an invitation. It is a request to transfer some of your accumulated standing onto someone else's event, their company, their cause, by the simple act of being seen there. Your presence has become a currency that other people want to spend, and you, with Margaret's help, have become careful about where you allow it to be spent. You notice the way people behave around your time. They thank you for 15 minutes as though you had handed them something valuable, because you have. At a dinner that spring, you realize halfway through the evening that you are the reason several of the other guests agreed to come at all, that you are, in the quiet language of these things, the draw. Robert, older now and mostly retired, tells you over a drink that the hardest lesson of his life was learning that being wanted by everyone is not the same as being close to anyone. You file it away. You do not feel it yet. This is the fourth thing nobody tells you about status. The fourth thing is that demand for you is not the same as regard for you, and at this level the two quietly come apart. A great many people want your time, your name, your attendance, and almost none of that wanting is about you as a person. It is about what attaching themselves to you can do for them. You are not being loved. You are being utilized, politely and at scale, and the warmth that surrounds a wanted man is mostly the warmth of people who need something he has. It is dangerously easy to mistake the volume of attention for the depth of it. You decline 3 invitations on the way out the door and accept one, and you can feel, as you do it, that the choosing itself has become a kind of power you did not have at 34. The verb at level 4 is attract. You attract far more demand than you can possibly meet, and the meeting of it becomes the central problem of your days. Attracting at this level means becoming a resource that other people compete for and learning to tell the difference, which is harder than it sounds, between being valued and being used. Level 5. You are 47. You have become the person a room calibrates itself to without ever being asked. It's a Friday evening at a dinner in a private room, 10 or 12 people, and you arrive a few minutes late. You notice, as you come in, that the conversation adjusts. Not dramatically, but there is a small settling, a reorientation, as the table registers that you are now here and the evening can properly begin. Over the next 2 hours, you watch the people around the table do something they are not aware they are doing. When a controversial topic comes up, several of them glance at you, quickly, to read your reaction before they commit to one of their own. You have become a thermostat. The room takes its temperature from you. You did not ask for this, and you cannot fully turn it off. When you are quiet, people read meaning into your quiet. When you praise something, its stock rises in the room. When you go cool on an idea, you can watch it lose altitude in real time. Sometimes unfairly, sometimes before you even meant to render a verdict. Your ordinary reactions now carry a weight that has nothing to do with how strongly you hold them. You begin to choose your words knowing the room will treat them as heavier than you intended. There is a younger man at this dinner, sharp, clearly talented, doing the exact things you once did, making sure his good points are visibly his. You recognize the moves, because you invented most of them for yourself 20 years ago. You feel something complicated watching him, part fondness and part the dawning awareness that you have become the kind of person whose notice he is quietly working to attract. Margaret tells you, in the car afterward, that he asked her 3 separate times whether you had seemed impressed by him. You had been him once. You had asked that same question about Robert. This is the 5th thing nobody tells you about status. The 5th thing is that at this level your influence detaches from your intentions, and you become responsible for effects you never meant to cause. You can move a room without trying, tilt a decision with a raised eyebrow, lift or sink a person with a passing comment you will not even remember making. The reach that felt like freedom at the lower levels becomes a kind of weight, because you can no longer afford to act casually. A man whose every reaction is closely read does not get to have casual reactions. The price of being the thermostat is that you no longer get to simply feel the room. You are always, a little, performing it. You say less than you used to. You have learned that at this altitude, a well-placed silence is often the most precise instrument you have. The verb at level 5 is anchor. You anchor the room, becoming the fixed point that everyone else in it quietly navigates by. Anchoring at this level means setting the temperature of a space without trying to, and accepting that your smallest gestures now move things you never intended to move. Level 6. You are 55. You no longer need status for yourself. You have begun, instead, to hand it out. It's a Saturday morning at an industry gathering, and you are standing with a coffee when you do something small that changes a younger man's life. A talented person, early 30s, is introduced to you, and you talk with him for not quite 10 minutes, and you like him. At the end, you say to the people standing nearby, "This one is going to matter. Pay attention to him." That is all. But you are who you are, and within a month doors have opened for him that he could not have opened in 5 years on his own. You did not give him a job or a check. You gave him your attention in public, and your attention has become a thing that makes other things happen. This is the level almost no one reaches and almost no one understands from the outside. You have so much standing that you no longer spend any of it on yourself. You spend it on other people, deliberately. The way Robert once spent a little of his on a 28-year-old who had said one good thing in a meeting. You can make a person now. A word from you in the right room, a public nod, an introduction offered rather than requested, and someone's trajectory bends upward. The room watches who you favor, and being favored by you has become its own form of currency, traded by people who have never even met you. It would be easy to enjoy this more than you should, and you have watched men at this level rot from it. Men who became addicted to the power of conferral, who handed out their blessing for flattery rather than merit, and destroyed the very thing that made it worth having. So you try to be careful. The only reason your attention is valuable is that you spent decades being right about where you pointed it. And the moment you point it at the wrong people, its value begins to drain. Margaret, still with you after all these years, is honest about who is using you and who is genuine. You have learned to listen to her. This is the sixth thing nobody tells you about status. The sixth thing is that the highest use of status is not to hold it, but to confer it. And the men who understand this become permanent while the men who hoard it fade. Status spent on yourself is consumption. Status spent on others, wisely, is investment, and it compounds, because every person you correctly elevate becomes part of how you are remembered. The kingmaker outlasts the king. The man who made others is woven into far more lives than the man who only made himself. You introduce the young man to 2 more people before you leave. You watch him understand, in real time, what has just happened to him. The verb at level 6 is confer. You confer status onto others, spending your own standing to raise up people who could never have raised themselves. Conferring at this level means becoming a maker of reputations rather than a holder of one, and discovering that giving it away, carefully, is the only way it lasts. Level 7. You are 63. You walk into a room, and the room rearranges itself around you. It's a Thursday evening in autumn at a gala in a hotel ballroom, the kind of event where everyone in attendance is, by some measure, someone. You arrive, and it happens the way it once happened with Robert 40 years ago, except now it happens for you, and you can feel it from the inside. The noise of the room dips, just slightly, the way a crowd quiets when the thing it was waiting for arrives. People deep in conversation register your entrance without turning their heads. A path opens toward the center of the room. Within a minute, the shape of the gathering has reorganized around where you happen to be standing, and you have not yet said a single word. This is the top, and the strange thing about the top is how little you have to do once you are standing on it. At every level below this one, status required an action. You had to contribute, to be right, to attract, to anchor, to confer. Here, the action falls away. Your presence alone is the event. People orient toward you the way they orient toward the front of a room, without ever deciding to. You have stopped being a person who does high-status things and become, simply, the thing that status points at. You are the gravity now, and gravity does not have to do anything. It only has to be there. You see a young man at the edge of the ballroom, 23 or so, in a jacket slightly too eager, holding a drink he is not drinking, watching the room rearrange around you with an expression you recognize instantly. Because you wore it once. He does not have a word for what he is watching. You did not either, at his age. You think, for a moment, about walking over to him, and you understand that if you do, you will change his entire evening, possibly far more than his evening, simply by crossing the room. That is the power. And that, you have learned, is also the cage. This is the 7th thing nobody tells you about status. The 7th thing is that the room rearranging around you is the most fragile thing in the world because it lives entirely inside other people, and it can rearrange itself away from you as fast as it once rearranged toward you. You do not own this. You never did. The status that bends a ballroom is borrowed, fresh every night, from an audience that has agreed, for now, to keep its attention pointed your way. The moment they stop, the gravity is gone, and a man who has lived inside it for decades often does not survive its loss. You have reached the summit, and the summit is a place you are allowed to stand only as long as the crowd below keeps holding it up. You let the room arrange itself around you. You smile, and some quiet part of you, the part that was once 23 and invisible and completely free, misses being nobody at all. The verb at level 7 is be. You no longer act. You simply are, and your being reorganizes the space around you. Being at this level means having become the thing all the striving pointed toward, and discovering that it weighs far more, and holds far less, than the invisible man at the bottom could have guessed. The payoff. So let's pull this together. At level 1, you enter. You are not disliked. You are unseen, and being unseen is its own strange freedom. At level 2, you contribute. The first rung is not competence, but visible competence, witnessed by the people who count. At level 3, you earn. Reputation is the first status that works in your absence, and the first you no longer fully control. At level 4, you attract. Demand for you is not the same as regard for you, and the two come quietly apart. At level 5, you anchor. Your influence detaches from your intentions, and you answer for effects you never meant to cause. At level 6, you confer. The highest use of status is to give it away, and the kingmaker outlasts the king. At level 7, you be. The room rearranges around you, and it is the most fragile thing you have ever tried to hold. Here is the thing nobody on YouTube will tell you about status. Status is the only kind of wealth that exists inside other people's heads. A bank account is yours. A house is yours. But your status is not in you at all. It lives in the minds of everyone around you, in the attention they choose to point your way, and you do not own a single share of it. You spend your whole life building something you cannot keep, cannot store, and cannot carry out of the room. The man at the top has more of it than anyone alive, and owns exactly as much of it as the invisible man at the bottom, which is to say none. That is the real lesson of the 7 levels. The climb feels like accumulation, like you are gathering something up and storing it for later. You are not. You are borrowing, in ever larger amounts, from an audience that can call the loan due at any moment. And the higher you climb, the more of your freedom you post as collateral, until at the summit you have become the least free person in the room, the most watched, the most dependent on the crowd that holds you up. If you are watching this feeling invisible, at the edge of rooms that do not know your name, understand what you have. No one is watching you. You owe the room nothing. You can still become anyone, and that openness is a wealth the man at the top sold off years ago and cannot buy back. If you are watching from the center of the room, with the gravity all pointing your way, the message is harder. None of it is yours. Hold it lightly, spend it on others, and do not be surprised when the room you command turns out to be the room you serve. Somewhere right now, a 23-year-old is standing at the edge of a room full of people, holding a glass of wine he is not drinking, watching an older man walk in late, and the whole room go quiet and bend toward him. He does not have a word for what he is watching. He thinks the man at the center has something, some possession he himself lacks and must one day acquire. He does not yet know that the man at the center owns nothing, that the gravity bending the room is on loan from the very crowd he is standing in, and that the freedom he feels tonight, unwatched and unknown at the edge of the room, is the one thing on the ladder that can never be bought back. The ladder has 7 levels. The first one is the only level where you are truly free, and almost no one believes that until they have stood at the top and felt how little is there. If this video changed how you think about status, hit subscribe. We have more videos like this on the channel, each one breaking down a different path that wealth takes through rooms, reputations, and the quiet ways that people arrange themselves around power. See you in the next one.